I'm pretty and desperate and always looking for a moment. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I am Raphael and I am here to review season 16, episode 4 of The Real Housewives doing way too much of Atlanta. So we start the episode off with Britt and Mrs. Charles Oakley's wife walking around the park together. Mrs. Charles Oakley's wife, she tells her, I was thinking of having a dinner and inviting everybody in the group. We could have the dinner at the bank. And I'm thinking, dinner at the bank? Like, what are they supposed to eat? Cashier checks or something? Like, what does that mean? But, we find out later on what exactly she means. So then Angela starts talking about her issues that she has with Shamia, aka Shamina. So then Britt, she goes off on one of her very first of many tangents this entire episode. And she's like, well, you know what, Angela? I get where you're coming from, but at least Angela was very open to getting to know us. She was genuine and nice. Unlike Kenya Moore. Kenya Moore, I just can't stand her. She's just so cold-hearted. She's shady, and she's just very, unpredictable, and I just don't like the way she was coming off like that to me, and I just don't understand why she didn't say hello. All I was trying to do is just be her friend, and yet she's over here being shady to me and being very cold-hearted, and I told her at the Ball main event last week, if she ever comes for me like that again, or if she ever checks me like that again, that I'm gonna check her, and I'm gonna be on her ass again, because I really want to be her best friend, and I love Kenya Moore, and I just don't understand why she doesn't love me. Now, see, if I was Angela, I would have looked at Britt like, okay, and cut. Production, let's wrap this up. This bitch is crazy. I would have looked for any excuse just to leave. I would have told Britt, like, Britt, look, I got to go renovate my house. I need to go start kitchen, like the kitchen because I need to make dinner or something. My husband, he just had another baby behind my back. Let me go take care of that. I got to go. Because Britt, you're already doing way too much. So then we head over to Shamia's big ass house and she's talking to her sister about wanting to present the song that she just made to the group at Angela's event. She's also shocked that Mrs. Charles Oakley would even invite her to her event after the things that she said, which, is kind of honorable for Shamia to admit that, maybe I did go just a little bit too hard because, you were making fun of her appearance. So, the fact that Angela even just reached out to you was just crazy, right? So she was just like, I was thinking of just maybe extending an olive branch. And, I've always said it. It's always this olive branch. Like, give me something else. How about you say something like, I want to extend, a rose bush or something. Like, it's always an olive branch. But, from the preview that we hear from the song, from the music, it sounds good. And if anything, Shamia, I think that you should get in the booth and make a diss track towards Porsha. But you didn't hear from me. I'll even produce it for you or, help you out. Which, speaking of, about 2 or 3 years ago, I actually wrote a song, a diss track, including different housewives from different cities. And it was supposed to be over Biggie Small's Warning instrumental, but I just couldn't get it together. But I did look up the lyrics right now that I wrote for it. And this is going to be my first time performing it. me. I'm so nervous. Here we go. Who the hell is this calling me at 7:55 at night while I'm watching the wives, trying to watch the Dorit's robbery she contrived, maybe even lied, giving her side-eyed. You decide. It's my girl Candy from down in Atlanta, telling me to join her business. She'll gift me like Santa. Might just do it and buy me a Louis, as long as it ain't toxic like Teresa and Louis. Which, speaking of, shout out to my little bitch girls. Jennifer had Joe shaking, clutching his pearls. You wanna be a housewife, oh so bad. Please give it up now, that's just sad and desperate. You'll never have a storyline, come on Joe, accept it. Speaking of storylines, Giselle, where's yours? You can learn a thing or two from Kenya Moore. Then we have Robin. What do we have in common? What happened to the wedding? Where's it at? What's the stalling? You're so glad Juan Dixon's not here. Doesn't matter since he always disappears. Then we got Ashley, Miss Money, Miss Divorcee. I heard Michael was cheating's what the source said. Then we got Miss Erica Jane. Can't afford her own private plane. Don't go to dinner with her, you'll pay the bill. Had Kyle screaming, that's bullshit, Camille. Tom flipped his car about 5 times. What was he driving? An Optimus Prime? Nene Leaks, where you at? Bravo needs you. Hasn't been the same, now we're stuck with Ralph and Drew. Porsha and Simon, get back on the show. I'm tired of Marlo yelling, Candy's a hoe. Let's head on over to Salt Lake City, the city full of scamming cults and Whitney's titties. Don't play around with Mary Cosby. Her life consists of her granddaddy. Then we have Lisa Barlow. When Meredith goes high, she just goes low. Can't forget her ego's enormous, ending every sentence with, hey baby gorgeous. Thank you, thank you. I'll be here all week. If you want to book me to perform at your parties or your events or whatever, I'll be there. Just slide into my DMs. My, booking fee is $1 million. So then we see Porsha meeting up with her business team and she wants to know what's next. And it's pretty impressive. She has 3 different things going on at the same time. She has her book. I believe her book is called The Pursuit of Other Women's Husbands or something like that. It's an autobiography. Then we see her hairline that's obviously doing good, get naked with somebody else's husband, and now she's coming out with her own bedding line called Pampered by somebody else's husband or something like that, which I will not be supporting. It's just something about that just feels very wrong and sleazy to me, laying on my bed on some bed sheets that says Porsha Williams on it. Like, I don't know. I would just feel like, I'm in Simon's bed or something, or at least like I'm in somebody else's husband's bed, and it would just feel wrong to me. I don't know, Porsha, if you do come out with that, you need to put a little label on the box that says, warning, there's some side effects that makes you feel like a side chick. Or something like that. I don't know. Is anybody going to be supporting? Come out with a perfume or some cereal or some shoes, and then, I'll be supporting you, Porsha. But bed sheets? Absolutely not. So then they start talking about Drew, and I have to agree with the guy because he was just like, yeah, the way she hypes up this hot dog man, Dennis, it's like she's talking about Quincy Jones. I said that she's basically talking about Babyface. The way she talks about this man, like, is he really that good? Like, is he really putting his hot dog in the music that good? So then Porsha, she goes on to talk about this whole betting line, and she's like, well, I want to be a triple threat. I want to come out with a Dubai. Wait, no, that's not the word. That's so silly of me. I meant Dubai. It's the same thing, Dubai, whatever, 265 days a year. It doesn't matter, but I want to do it all. But Drew, I feel like Drew is copying me with everything that I'm doing. And the second that she said that, I really had to look at the situation because I don't know. I think that Portia's onto something. Because Porsha, she had a music career, and I do use the word music career very loosely when it comes to that. And then Drew, she has a music career. Porsha, she stole somebody else's husband. Drew stole somebody's ex. Porsha, she has a peach. Drew has a peach. That's 3 different things that both of them have in common. I don't know. That's a little bit too close to home. So I don't know, Porsha, you might have a point. Then we see Ralph. He's outside playing with his kids. Drew, she comes outside and she joins them. And then we get a confessional from Ralph. I'm like, oh, so we're just giving confessionals to anybody nowadays, huh? Except Kenya. Kenya can't get one, right? Okay, like, Ralph, you want to be Peter Thomas so badly. Like, he really wants to be the center peach. So, and then what was going on with this producer? Did anybody hear what the producer was asking? Like, oh, I just want to know why you showed up to this confessional with no shirt on. And then Ralph, he laughed it off. And then she was just like, I just want to know, are you outside? And I'm like, producer, like, if you don't get your ass back there and start doing your job and producing this show, like, over here trying to produce yourself onto some dick. Like, that is crazy. The way she said it, too. I just want to know, are you outside? Like, what? Like, but then again, I don't blame her because Ralph is a beautiful man. And you see, dealing with Ralph could be very tricky because one second he could be lying to you, gaslighting you, cheating on you. You're telling him, oh, get away from me. You're such a narcissistic person. But then you start looking at him and he has on this tight black shirt. His muscles are poking out. His chest is poking out. You fucking by mistake 2 seconds later. So now you start pillow talking. You kind of regret it just a little bit, but not too much because the dick was good. So then you start pillow talking. You start whispering like, Ralph, like, we need to stop doing this. Like, this has to be the last time. Like, no, like, I'm so serious. Like, I'm tired of the games. Like, the judge told us that we have to be separate from each other. Now go back down to your basement. Dinner's going to be ready by 7. So when dealing with Ralph, you have to cover your eyes. Like, you know what? No, Ralph, I'm not falling for this time around. Drew's also concerned that the judge had told her and Ralph that they can't discuss anything going on between them to the kids, understandably. But could you imagine when they figure out that their mom is on the Real Housewives of Atlanta and they get to season 15, specifically the episodes with Ralph and that bobblehead Courtney? That's going to be a hard watch. And, if I was Drew, I would just lie to them and say, you know what? You could skip that season. It was just kind of like a pilot. This season, the current season, season 16, this is season 15. At least it'll be something. Then we see Kenya the Iconic Moore meeting up with the Waffle Queen, Kelly, at her spa. She's showing her around. It's nice and spacious. I love the purple color scheme because purple is my favorite color. And I love Kelly's outfit that she had on in the scene, too. So Kenya, she was just like, wait a minute. Why do you have a bodyguard with you? And it wasn't the same situation as Giselle when she brought around her bodyguard or rent-a-cop, after the whole situation with Monique and Candace. Like, this was actually serious. Giselle, I still can't believe that she did that. But regardless, she was just like, well, Kenya, you have a MARK, I have a MARK. And my dumbass was sitting here like, what is a MARK? Oh, Mark. It took me a good 24 hours to realize that that's what she was talking about. Okay, Kenya's ex, Mark. Okay, her ex must be Mark as well. Okay, I get it, the correlation. You see context clues. She was just like, yeah, he threatened me in the courtroom. Not only did he steal from her, shut down her businesses, mistreated her, he also threatened to her in the courtroom. Kenya also gets emotional. She starts crying because she admits that she actually used her daughter Brooklyn's college fund to open up the spa. She's $400,000 deep in it. And I'm like, damn, Kenya, part of me is thinking, okay, she had to make this big sacrifice in order for the bigger picture. She could probably triple the money, right? But then I'm looking at the preview to next week and what she does at the grand opening of this spa in front of everybody, just to get a one-up on Britt with the poster of her doing X, Y, and Z on it. And I'm just thinking, Kenya, you sacrificed so much money, so much time in order to taint the opening of your spa with that. Like, was it worth it? Like, we'll find out next week. But I'm just like, Kenya, you should have thought a little bit smarter about that. You could have done that any other place. But again, we'll get to it eventually. And speaking of terrible marriages, we see Britt and her sister. They're at this restaurant. Britt did tell us that her relationship with her is not the best. And the sister's trying to tell her, like, look, I want you to be there for me, but without your husband being present. Because anytime that they try to have a moment together, Suspicious Mike is always there in person, just listening. And here goes Britt. Oh, well, that is my husband. He's allowed to be there. No, Britt, no. Just because you're married does not mean that you're not allowed to be independent. Like Neo said, like, what are you doing? Like, what, he's your bodyguard now too? Like, that is crazy to me. Like, anytime that you try to have a moment with your sister, you mean to tell me that he has to be there? Her situation with her husband reminds me a lot of Mia and Gordon, or Ink, depending on the day, because Mia, she flip-flops men every other weekend. But worse, if that's even possible. And yeah, it just sounds very toxic, very controlling. On top of that, they're trying to have a moment. They're holding hands. I'm thinking, okay, there's some progress. But then we hear this buzz, buzz. Buzz, buzz. And I'm thinking, okay, did somebody, leave their vibrator, their dildo on? What is that noise? No, it's Suspicious Mike. He's blowing up her phone and he wants her to come home. And she's like, oh, we need to wrap this up because Mike is calling. He wants me to get home. I wish I would have a man. Well, first of all, I wish I would have a man. Let's start there. But I wish I would have a man who's blowing up my phone telling me to come home. No, now I'm staying out till 4 a.m. And guess what? I might cheat. And it might be with your cousin. Just because I want to be petty. Like, don't tell me to come home. I'm coming, though. No, I'm not. We then see Drew meeting up with DJ Khaled in the studio, and she's telling him, like, look, you need to fix the things between me and Porsha. You need to talk to her because she's upset with me over working with you, and it's just not that serious. So then Timbaland, he was just like, okay, look, I don't really know why I need to talk to her for what, because she's over there living her life. You don't see me bothering her. But Drew, she was insistent, and she was just like, look, Stevie J, no, you need to talk to her. Like, she is upset. You need to fix this. So eventually, Babyface was just like, okay, fine. Like, I'll see what I can do, but, get in the booth. You need to finish this track. So Drew, she gets in the booth, and I'm like, ooh, we're about to see her do her own thing, right? So then she started singing, and she's like, I need to breathe. I need to breathe. I need to get out the way and get a new weave. I'm like, now what track was this on this album? I need to listen to this album. What were these lyrics? But we finally get to Mrs. Charles Oakley's dinner at the bank, and it's an actual bank setting. Like, I love the whole place, how it looked, especially the door, the giant vault door that everybody had to go in one by one. I'm actually going to call Wells Fargo in the morning to see if they have something like this. Maybe I could have my own dinner party or whatever. So everybody starts coming in one by one. The whole theme was to wear black chic, right? And then here comes Kenya wearing turquoise. I'm like, of course, Kenya, of course. But she's going to be gone by next week. So, might as well just let her wear whatever she wants at this point. So everybody's sitting down, everybody's, greeting each other or whatever. Kenya, she's going around the table. She blew a couple of kisses to Drew, like, oh, hey, how are you? She didn't hug her. She walked around. Britt, the second that she saw Kenya, her veins were just popping out of her body. She was just looking at her in disgust. Kenya was just like, oh, hey. She gave her a little greeting or whatever. Here goes Britt. Oh, that wasn't a greeting. That wasn't a hug. What was that? You just patted me down. What was that? I don't like that. And I'm like, you saw that she clearly didn't hug Drew. She blew kisses at her. You got more than her, yet you're upset about this? Like, okay, so that was strike what, 2 already, right? Because of her little rant at the beginning of the episode. So Kenya, she was just like, no, that was a nice greeting. She sat down, right? So we continue, but you could just tell that Britt, just by her face alone, she was just upset. She was just not in the mood. Like she was coming for Kenya one way or another, right? So then Shamia, she shows up with an olive branch inside an olive bottle and she gives it to, Angela. Angela, she was open to it. I like that Angela was just kind of like, okay, yeah, you talked about me. You call me LaToya Jackson, but you know what? We could be besties, right? So I like that they kind of just moved on from that. Next thing you know, Angela was just like, okay, I have a box of questions. We're all going to write questions and we're going to ask each other questions, right? And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I believe one of the first questions was, Shamia, what did you do, to your husband after he gave you that giant Rolls Royce for your birthday? Shamia, I mean, she basically alluded that she was, for the Rolls Royce, and then she threw it back and everything. But then, then she bobbed her head back and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. She did a little bit more than just, she was playing with the ball sack. I know that position. And I mean, I would do it too. Honestly, I would suck it from the back. If somebody gave me a Rolls Royce, I mean, whew, you could just do anything at that. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure that, it's just not me. I'm pretty sure some of you have done much, much, much more for less. But anyways, the next question, I believe it was towards Angela. It was just like, oh, have you ever had a threesome with your husband, or what's the freakiest thing that you've done with your husband or whatever? She was just like, oh, my husband. But then Porsha was just like, oh, I heard about him. I heard something about your husband. And I'm pretty sure that we've all heard something about her husband in the last week. There was a video going around on Twitter, online, that apparently Charles Oakley, he actually had a child outside of his marriage with Angela. He cheated on her, allegedly, and he had a baby behind her back, and that's why they broke up. She said last week that they broke up because he got kicked out of some game or whatever, but even then, I was just like, that doesn't make sense. So this is, I think, allegedly, this is the real reason why they actually broke up. She's just trying to cover it up. So she was just like, oh, wait, Porsha, what did you hear? Porsha was just like, oh, no, I'm not going to talk about it, not now. But I wonder if that's going to get brought up. I mean, eventually, it's going to have to get brought up at the reunion. So I'm curious to see if Angela just confesses to it, like, yeah, he did cheat on me, and et cetera, right? Also, Shamia shares part of her song to the group, and that everybody was supportive except Porsha, her so-called bestie, was just like, wait a minute, that's not you. That sounds like Drew. Like, Porsha is such a hater. Like, it's just, and I know it's just going to get worse as the season goes. Like, Porsha, I don't know, your true colors to your besties coming out. And I hope Shamia sees it. So then I believe the other question was, oh, Kenya, what color panties you got on? And then Kenya, all of a sudden, she gets up and she starts rummaging through it. Like, she's just deep in it. Like she's Santa Claus, just looking for a good gift. Like, oh, let me just look. Hold on. Let me just dive in. Hold on. I'm like, Kenya, please, let's have some class. We're in the bank. There's a nice fancy door, nice fancy dinner. Like, you don't even know Angela like that. Here goes Porsha. Oh my God, that's a big vagina. It's like a moose knuckle. Oh, Porsha. So then that was that. And then I believe one of the questions, Drew said, Kenya, why are you so concerned about other people's marriages or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, that was definitely Britt who wrote that. So then Kenya was just like, oh, that's just a bad habit of mine, Apollo and Phaedra, but, we forget about that, right? Then I believe Kelly, she had an issue with, with Drew. She was just like, everybody brought something at my event last week except you, Drew. You didn't buy anything. What's going on? And you actually brought a +1, which was her makeup artist. I'm like, oh my God, like, these men are really trying to get a peach. Like, that's the third one already this episode. So then Drew was just like, no, I actually brought a $2,000 jacket, which, I mean, $2,000 for a jacket? But, they got it, so why not? She was like, I brought it, so I don't know what you're talking about. Look, here's my message. And then Kelly, she grabs the phone. Oh, here's a message from Dennis. Now, she knew that she knows that she could have kept that to herself. Portia's right there. Porsha was probably like, I told them to stop talking to her. So then Drew was just like, stop. That's a group chat. Give me my damn phone. Hey, baby, I'm going to text you back after the dinner. Your ex is here, so I'm just going to text you later, okay? I'll call you. Actually, I'm going to come over to your place tonight, okay? Love you. No, that was just a group chat. I'm like, okay, Drew, okay, whatever. So then I believe Britt, Britt is just fuming, right? Like you could just tell that she is just pissed. And I'm like, Britt is really not that serious. She was just like, Kenya, you need to treat Britt much better and you need to treat her like your bestie and follow her back on Instagram. I didn't write this, I promise. So who did? Casper the Ghost? Like, next thing you know, Britt starts going off and she's like, no, you're not, Kenya. You're being very disrespectful. You're being very shady. You've been shady to me ever since I met you. You haven't even greeted me properly. You didn't even hug me. What was that? You were just tapping my shoulders. What was that? And I'm like, Britt, relax. Well, what is going on? And then we see everybody's confessional. Like, okay, what is Britt going on about? Like, what is happening? She's doing way too much. I just don't understand how it went from 0 to 100 and Kenya's not even doing anything. Again, even if she was trying to be, funny or whatever the first episode this season, was it that serious? Was all of this behavior warranted, Britt? Like, oh, you just came off so lame, and I actually thought you were the opposite, but no, you're pretty lame. And Kenya was just like, what are you talking about? Okay, you want to have a moment? Okay, fine, have your moment. So then I believe Britt was just like, oh no, because I didn't send for you. And I'm like, oh boy, not the Kenya catchphrases. And Kenya was just like, oh no, not my catchphrase. So then she was just like, you know what, Britt? No, because I'm a queen, I don't deal with peasants. And that was the cherry on top. That's all we needed because she called her a peasant. Next thing you know, Britt, she starts getting even more upset. And she was like, peasant? Who are you calling a peasant? No, you got the wrong one because I don't play those type of games. You got the wrong bitch. And she starts cursing and just using all these F-bombs. And I'm like, what is going on here, Britt? Like, what exactly what did Kenya do to you? And this is the moment that I wish we had Kenya confessionals, so we can see like her perspective or her side on this whole thing. Like, what is going on there? Obviously, Kenya must have done something more to piss her off or whatever. Like, I just don't understand. So eventually Kenya was just like, you know what? I'm done with this. Dinner's over. Let me get up and let me go. So she's leaving, right? She's not even reacting to Britt or anything. Britt, she's still going off. So now Britt is getting up and then she starts whispering or whatever, right? Because now everybody's in groups. She's over there with the waffle queen and she was like, oh, because I got my pistol. And what is that supposed to mean? Like, people just don't throw things out like that just because, like, oh, I got this, I got that. That's like Kenya saying, oh, yeah, I have a knife in my bra. Like, what are you trying to allude at? Obviously, she's alluding that, oh, you continue trying me. I'm going to take out my pistol. And I'm just like, what in the Remy Ma is going on here? What did Nicki Minaj say? What kind of bum bitch shoot her friend over a stack? Like, what? Like a pistol? I've heard a lot of threats, a lot of everything throughout all the Housewives universe, right? Like, we've seen physical fights, drink throws, hair pulling, everything, right? But pistol whipping or pistol whatever she was thinking of doing? Like, nowadays in 2025, you can't take threats like that lightly because, look at the news. They don't even know Britt like that to say, oh, she's just playing around. She's just saying things or whatever. She doesn't really mean it. Like, we don't know her. So for all we know, she could just pull out her pistol any second now if Kenya was to call her a different name. Like, let's just say Kenya was to just, okay, let me give you a moment. Let me call you this, that, and the third. Then what? What would have been Remy Ma's reaction then? Or what would have been her reaction if she gets into it with anybody else later on in the season? Is this always going to be a thing where, she gets into it with Kelly or Drew or Angela or Porsha, and she's always going to constantly say, oh, don't forget, I have a pistol, I have a knife, I have a hammer. Is that going to be a history thing or is that just specifically with Kenya? Next thing you know, she puts the Batman signal or the suspicious signal in the sky and then boom, her husband showed up. I'm like, I could have swore there was just one entrance to this place. There must have been a trap door or something. Like, where did he come from? She was serious. Earlier in the episode, she did say that he's always there, but damn, he was like right there, right? So he shows up and then, it was just so funny because Kenya, she was just like, okay, this is enough. I'm walking out. So she's exiting with Porsha and, she's over there, saying goodbye to Shamia, Angela. They're in their group, right? But it was so funny because as they're having a nice, peaceful conversation, we see Remy Ma. She is just going off and going crazy on the other side by herself to the waffle queen and her husband. And she was just like, that bitch, she's over here calling me names and peasant. She's going to learn today. No, baby. Give me my pistol and my whips. First of all, why do you have a whip? That's very concerning. So she's continuing going off, right? Meanwhile, we go back to the group. Oh, it was so nice to see you, Angela. Thank you so much for this dinner. It looks so nice. I love that dress. You know what? Let's take a selfie. Then we switch back over to Britt, right? No, because that bitch, she's calling me names or whatever. She's going to learn today. I'm like, oh, Remy Ma, you look so damn pathetic and so thirsty. I really thought that you were gonna be cool. I thought you were gonna be my favorite this season. And if you can't handle Kenya saying that little tiny bit of shade, then you're not gonna be able to handle anybody else on this cast moving forward. You might as well just exit the stage now and take Cynthia Bailey with you while you're at it. So Remy Ma continues going off and she's telling her suspicious husband, no, get this mic off me. Get this mic off me. She's gonna learn today to stop calling people names. So meanwhile, Kenya, Porsha, and Drew, they're already in the getaway mobile. You know, they're already down the street. You know, Kenya, we hear her in the mic and she's like, oh, you know, she just threatened me. She just threatened my life. You know, she basically said that she had a gun. Here goes Porsha. What? A gun? I didn't hear that. That's crazy. See, I mean, if you stop thinking about Simon for once, maybe you'll see what's going on. But Kenya, I'm just so disappointed because she got fired over the whole situation that's about to play out next week. And that was in retaliation to, you know, this whole situation with Britt now. But it's just like, Kenya, and I can't even say you shouldn't have gone that low. And I love Kenya. You know, she'll always be my favorite housewife. But, I mean, what did you expect? I don't agree with her actions. I don't think that she should have put a poster of Britt doing, you know, X, Y, and Z on the poster. On top of that, at your opening to your salon that you just cried about this episode, that you sacrificed so much for what? So you basically fell for Britt's action, for Britt's trap. And now look, you got yourself booted off the show, but Britt, she should have followed right behind you. So both of you should have been fired. Because you just don't do that. Like you really, I don't care if Britt's videos, whatever she was doing is already on the internet. You just don't do that. I just think that that's pretty low and kind of disgusting. It is disgusting. And, you know, Britt, her actions are also disgusting because how are you threatening somebody else in the show or just in general with your pistol? You know, so we're really going to see how this whole situation really plays out next week. And, you know, even let's just say Kenya didn't get fired. You know, we see in the preview that, what's her name, that Remy Ma, she tries to apologize to her. But, like, how do you even apologize? How do you move forward with somebody who threatened your life with a gun? Like, so Britt, yeah, you should have been demoted or fired. So that's why I don't understand what, like, Bravo, again, there goes the moral compass. You know, you fired Kenya for one horrible behavior, but yet you're keeping Britt. Like, how does that make sense? That is crazy to me. But again, let me know what you all thought about this whole situation. Whose side are you on? Do you think Kenya, well, I guess we'll see what she does next week in retaliation. But do you think that Britt was doing too much? Or like, what do you think about her saying, oh, I got a pistol? Do you think that that's a threat? Or do you think that that's just like, oh no, that's just fighting words? Like, that is insane to me. But let me know what you all thought about this whole episode down in the comments. Bye, everybody. Mwah.